Jocelyn Martinez, beautiful, bright, and talented. A singer, actress, a shining star who has it all, including a dark secret.
I was 9 years old when my father was killed.
And she spent a quarter of a century hunting down the man who pulled the trigger.
It didn't matter to me what I had to go through, what I had to look like, as long as I made it happen.
Jocelyn Martinez was a daddy's girl, the apple of his eye.
She was daddy's little princess. She was the baby, the only girl.
Well, I got his name. His name is Jose. They named me Jocelyn.
Jose Martinez, a Dominican immigrant, worked hard to give his family the American dream. But it wasn't easy, especially in 1986 in New York's Washington Heights community.
It was a very tough neighborhood. At that time, there was a lot of drugs up there. The Dominican community and the black community were fighting over the crack wars going on. We were handling close to 100 homicides per year.
A beacon of light in the drug-ravaged neighborhood was the Rincon Dominican restaurant Jose opened with his wife Adelia on legendary Dykeman Street.
The restaurant was our second home. It's where we would gather, have events, have family gatherings. So it was definitely always a good thing for me.
Those happy memories were all but destroyed when Jose was gunned down right in front of the restaurant, shot in cold blood.
It all happened just here.
It was dinner time on November 22nd, 4 days shy of Thanksgiving, when three young punks walked through the door and started harassing a waitress.
We were using foul language, and the owner, Jose Martinez, confronted them and actually asked them to leave because there was other families in there. It was inappropriate language, and he didn't want them in the restaurant. So basically, he threw them out.
Jose and a cook shoved the young troublemakers out the door. But the argument heats up when they hit the street.
They're outside, one thing leads to another, and there's another kid there who says, just shoot him. Sure enough, he takes the gun out and opens fire.
Two shots ring out. One strikes Jose in the chest.
He dropped right on the sidewalk right in front of the restaurant.
Jose Martinez died in the arms of his wife Adelia. The bullet punctured his heart.
Esos muchachos malos y hacen esa tragedia. Es algo que te rompe el corazón porque fue delante de mí.
These three punks had no rational idea about going in there and sitting down having dinner. You know, they went in there for trouble, and they ended up killing a guy. A family man, a father. What a waste.
Homicide detectives Mike Sheehan and Joseph Rivera begin their investigation at the Martinez house. It's the first time they lay their eyes on little Jocelyn.
She was a tiny girl, then beautiful, beautiful young little girl.
This little wide-eyed girl holding a stuffed animal, and they were trying to explain to her, other family members, that Daddy wouldn't be home anymore, that Daddy had gone to heaven.
It was that night, at the tender age of 9, a fire ignited inside Jocelyn.
I was just absorbing all of that. I wouldn't speak much. I wasn't busy talking, though. I was busy listening and trying to get every conversation I could hear about the murderer and how I could make something happen.
She's 9 years old. She's picking up snippets of the conversation and just trying to make sense of it. It was a horror.
And I promised her that I would get the guy that killed her father. I apologize for that.
Detectives began canvassing the neighborhood, hunting for justice and fighting for Jocelyn.
We just kept getting bits and pieces from the grocery store, from the other stores on the block, from one or two people that were in the restaurants, from the cook in the restaurant. And they knew of him, they had seen him. He only lived around the corner.
And then a clue anonymously appears at the restaurant.
Someone dropped a yearbook over to the restaurant and just left it in the restaurant with Justo Santos' photo circled in a pen.
The killer, identified as 16-year-old Justo Santos.
We had the posters made through the TIPS program, and we put the photo of Justo Santos as wanted for the murder of Mr. Martinez, and we spread it all around.
Apparently, somewhere down the line, Jocelyn got a hold of one of these posters, and she kept that poster.
I would look at it and try to really see the face well and see if I will ever bump into this person.
She was determined to get the man who killed her father.
Finally, a tip leads detectives to Justo's mother's house. Was that promise Detective Rivera made to Jocelyn about to come true?
Justo was quick, and his family hid him from us. And within, I would believe, within a 2-week period, he had left the Dominican Republic.
Officer Rivera convinces Justo's mother to arrange a phone call to the teen in the Dominican Republic, hoping to convince him to return to New York.
I called him, and I was able to extract the full confession that he did kill Jose Martinez on that day by shooting him. Shot twice. One of the bullets hit him and went through his heart and his lung. He took the gun, threw it on the trash, and ran with his 2 friends.
He confesses. He fesses up. Says, yeah, I shot him. But it was self-defense, you know, as it always is with these killers.
It was a full confession, but there was no way to bring Justo Santos to justice.
There was no extradition whatsoever. We could not go down in there or demand anyone that was down there.
Justo Santos was essentially a free man, a killer without consequence.
He gets away with it. He actually got away with murder.
The case goes stone cold for 2 years. Then, Detective Rivera gets an anonymous tip. Justo Santos' mother dies, and he's returning to New York to take her body back to the Dominican. This could be their one shot to grab him on American soil.
I'm watching the funeral parlor. I'm staking out everything possible. I felt that he was coming.
But Justo gives the cops the slip by falsifying his travel documents, and police say he bribes a Dominican airline to take his name off the passenger list.
Again, I missed out on him.
Luckily, this time, the Dominican National Police Force is willing to work with the NYPD.
They did have a law in the Dominican Republic whereby if a Dominican committed a crime against another Dominican in another country, that they would be able to prosecute him there. And that's what we were hoping that would happen.
It seems Jocelyn will finally get justice. Dominican police grab Justo at the airport. He's in disguise and carrying a loaded weapon.
Everyone was happy. Okay, he's going to go to jail, right? He's going to get sentenced.
But not for killing Jose Martinez.
He gets arrested for the handgun there. The charges for the murder aren't processed whatsoever. He, in turn, pays a civil penalty and is out of jail within about 1.5 years.
Again, Justo Santos is a free man. Jocelyn, now a teenager, is devastated, but more determined than ever.
I did become driven because for me, it was personal. It wasn't anger, too. It wasn't like, I was just saying, I'm gonna get him.
It takes 20 years, but she finally hunts down the man who kills her father. And you won't believe where she finds him.
I think this is him, but I can't believe that this just happened this way.
Jocelyn's finally got him, or does she?
Instead of watching the episode on TV, How to Get Away with Murder, just watch what happened with this guy.
Jose Martinez, a beloved father and husband, gunned down right in front of his family's restaurant.
My mom comes back from the hospital with a watch and his belongings. No, our life completely changed.
Jocelyn Martinez was just 9 years old when she woke up to find out her father was dead.
Imagine being 9 years old and try to figure out, why is my dad gone to heaven? Then later on learning that he was actually shot. He didn't die of some disease, he didn't die of a heart attack or an accident. He was murdered.
Detectives track down the killer. Justo Santos, the 16-year-old, confesses to the shooting, but immediately flees to the Dominican Republic.
The NYPD could not go there, pick him up, and bring him back because the Dominican law would not allow it at the time.
Unable to extradite Santos to the States, the NYPD closes the case.
She was only 9 years old, and I promised her that we would get that person that killed her dad. And unfortunately, I never was able to apprehend him. One of the few stories that I never got to finish, and that's where it hurts the most.
2 decades pass. Jocelyn grows up, studies international law, and becomes a successful actress and singer. She thought she had flipped the switch and moved on, until she stumbles across an old wanted poster of Justo Santos.
It wasn't switched off at all.
Daddy's little girl vows to once and for all hunt down the man who killed her father.
What drove her is that she wanted to say to him, "Why the hell did you kill my father? What did my father ever do to you?"
By now, it's 2006, the dawn of social media, so the determined daughter turns into an internet detective.
I decided to use social media because everybody was finding me online from high school or college. I said, well, what if I find this guy online?
She spends years poring over strangers' photos, but there are too many people named Justo Santos. She spends hundreds of dollars on background checks, still nothing.
I was so hard on myself. I don't even know how to put it together. But I needed to do it, and so I did.
Jocelyn is missing one crucial piece of information, Santos's birthday. So on Thanksgiving Day in 2012, 26 years to the day of her father's murder, Jocelyn goes to the 34th precinct. A compassionate detective conveniently leaves Santos's file open on his desk, and there it was.
She looked at the old case folder, and in the old case folder, there was an actual date of birth. It was March 4th. And now she went back in and ran information now with an exact date of birth, and bells went off.
I see his name, and it was a perfect match.
There, staring at her from her computer, is Justo Santos. But he's not in the Dominican Republic. He's on American soil, living in Miami.
It was nothing else I could think about but just getting this to happen, getting this guy arrested, because I've identified him now. Get him.
Jocelyn returns to the 34th precinct, and now, working with detectives, is able to piece together a web of lies and deception. Just 3 years after allegedly murdering Jose Martinez, Justo leaves the Dominican Republic, flies into Puerto Rico to avoid immigration, and sneaks back into the U.S. He then applies for U.S. citizenship and lies on his application.
This questionnaire, if you ever got arrested or if you ever were being pursued in an investigation or anything having to do with criminal. And he says, no, absolutely not. I have a very clean record. I am next to all the godly saints. I'm right behind them.
If caught, it's a federal offense. But again, Justo slips through the cracks and is granted citizenship in 2009. But here's the biggest shocker. He's working right under the cops' noses in, of all places, the Miami-Dade Metropolitan Police Department.
He has a Florida driver license. He's got a gun permit. He's got a voter registration card. He's got a social security number. He's not hiding. He's out in plain sight.
A quarter of a century after pulling the trigger, an NYPD detective flies to Miami and finally arrests Justo Santos.
Our detective goes down there, sits him down, talks to him. Yeah, I'm the guy. I confessed then, and I'm going to confess now. I'm going to tell you what happened. And he tries to make a logical excuse. This was self-defense. I just didn't randomly fire a gun at someone. Of course, he never says, what the hell are you doing with a gun when you're at that age?
You'll go back? Okay.
Justo waives extradition and returns to New York. They've finally got him. He's held at Rikers Island and indicted for the murder of Jose Martinez. Now Jocelyn is about to look her father's killer in the eye for the first time. And so are the cops who chased him all these years.
So we're all there, and he walks in handcuffed, and actually I was maybe a little bit numb.
There was a sense of satisfaction being able to see him. He looked much like his picture, only a little bit aged. But I felt almost a sense of completion. I finished. I did my job. And unfortunately, it just didn't end.
Then, a blow no one saw coming. Judge Robert Stoltz floors everyone in the courtroom. The judge dismisses the case. He rules too much time has passed, and 26 years after the shooting, the case is so cold, justice can't be served.
Judge Stoltz decides that he would release the murderer based on his right to the speedy trial.
The truth of the matter is that he fled, he hid, He admitted to the murder of killing Jose Martinez. The judge totally forgot about that.
Despite fleeing and living a lie on the lam, Santos is once again a free man.
It still eats at me that this guy, this bum, Santos, is walking around free, smiling. And he hugged his lawyer, but kind of laughed at the whole judicial system here in New York. Yeah, okay, I did a year in Rikers Island waiting to come to trial, and then, you know, here I am now, I'm free to go. I killed a guy, and I'm going back to Miami.
But Jocelyn's story doesn't end here.
It sure is unresolved because I believe the federal government can arrest someone for lying in their citizenship application.
And they do. Cops arrest Justo Santos on federal charges, but will they finally be able to keep him behind bars?